You good?
I'm smoothie in my feet. Workout smoothie.
So today's episode is happy birthday episode. Happy birthday to Britt. We're not going to say her age, but it's over 30 and under 40.
It's like 28.
Obviously.
And that's what I'm telling myself.
And we wanted to do an entire episode basically on things we wish we'd known in our 20s prior to turning 30. Just like, not like big sister advice, but kind of big sister advice, right?
Yeah. Where were you whenever you were turning 30?
Ooh, it was the day I broke up with my last boyfriend.
Really? I just got engaged.
Well, both of those worked out well.
And now we're both single. Well,
I'm not single.
Sorry, she's not single.
Recently not single, though. Very recently not single. It's still hard to say.
Call me.
Britt's on one. Okay, so let's set the script for a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about, I'm just going to say these in the beginning so we remember to go through them all. I want to talk about the Rachael and Matt breakup because I think she's in her 20s and I think...
She's in her 20s?
She's in her 20s. I think she's like 28, 29. Her relationship and the breakup with Matt reminds me so much of my ex-fiance and the way he would dim my light and just kind of his insecurities manifested in making me constantly feel like I had to be less so that he could shine. And I feel like that's a lesson so many women learn in their 20s. And then they,
30s.
Well, their whole life pretty much, but it's like such a lesson that it just reminds me so much of dating in my 20s. Want to talk about that. Want to talk about your most recent relationship. Well, dating situation, whatever.
A nano ship. That's a thing these days?
Nano with a 30-year-old, spoiler alert, virgin. And then want to touch on our newfound obsession with Bonnie Blue.
Yeah. Wow. I went down the
rabbit hole
on that one. And I got a lot of thoughts about that.
We have a lot of thoughts. And then finally, I want to round it out with like just other life pieces of advice, which some has to do with fashion because we want to bring back the fact that skinny jeans are back. And I have thoughts on this because I feel like in my 30s, I'm less about wearing things that are in fashion and I'm more about wearing things that are flattering on my body. Like even if they're not in fashion, right? Because I almost feel like if it looks good on you, nobody cares if it's in fashion. All they're looking at is the fact that it's like flattering. You know what I mean?
Sorry, your cat was over here. I get a little nervous around cats.
Cats are, she's 14.
At my leg.
She's 14. We can't kill her. So we just have to accept her. Okay. So let's start with Rachael and Matt. I have 3 thoughts I want to drop on you and I want you to tell me what your theories are on them.
Okay. Now I know that their season on The Bachelor was kind of, a lot of people felt like it was a waste of time because at the end of it, he didn't propose. I don't know if you guys remember this season, but he was like, I still want to get to know you, but I don't want to propose to you. In a way, I kind of agree with that. Who wants to propose after 6 weeks anyway? But that was kind of the start of their journey, right? Yeah.
And then almost like a month after that, after the final rose was filmed, they break up because effectively photos resurfaced of her in her sorority wearing plantation garb, which we can understand coming from the South. Wearing that, and basically there was a lot of backlash. Yeah, there was a lot of backlash about it. And I'm not at all supporting that. However, I will say, coming from the South, at her age, I didn't know all of the historical implications around a lot of the stuff that was very much normalized.
Yeah. After that happened, even where I'm from, we have a very big thing called the Azalea Festival, and it was an honor to be an Azalea Belle, and you got to wear.
We had Azalea Trail maids. Yeah, exactly.
And you would wear the antebellum dresses, and you would sit in gardens, and people would come and stare at you. Yep. And it was kind of like what you did before becoming a debutante.
Yep.
And after that happened, I feel like the Azalea Festival now in North Carolina no longer allows that. They've changed their whole, you can't even wear the dresses anymore. And I feel like that kind of sparked it too.
No, we had the Azalea Trail maids, and it was a huge thing. There was a big pageant to be one of the 5 Azalea Trail maids. I remember wanting to try out for it because at no point was I taught in high school that this had connotations to plantations.
Correct.
At no point.
Yeah, neither was I.
And I'm not saying that that's not I shouldn't have done my own research, but when you're 16,
you don't know.
You don't know.
I get to dress up and people are going to come look at me. You're okay.
And you have to remember, Rachael, when this happened, was 24.
Yeah.
If social media existed the way it did now when I was 24, Lord have mercy.
Thank God it's not.
Yeah, right. So she gets canceled for that. Then she basically like gives the most humble apology and like talks about it. They get back together. And I have felt off about this relationship since it started because I feel like, and this is something else I saw a lot in the South, which really drove me insane. People who use God, the Bible, and church as a crux or an explanation for whatever behavior they want to do. Like, I prayed on it and I decided X because I prayed about it, or God spoke to me, or, you know, in church they talk about, like, it's almost a get out of jail free card for behavior in the South.
Behavior.
Yeah. And that's not to say that I don't very much have respect for the church and people's belief systems, but I felt like a lot of his I mean, he was the season that he like made all the girls pray with him.
Okay.
And like, again, no issue
That's
with
great.
prayer.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I felt like he started to use it as
he was using it to kind of give off a good boy image.
Yes. And to excuse.
That's the bad part.
Yeah.
People do that.
To excuse poor behavior. Like, I'm gonna write this breakup post on Instagram while she's on a plane, has no access to internet, completely just blindsided her with this breakup. And all of her friends and family are gonna learn about the breakup from this post, but I'm gonna couch it in, please keep, you know, Rachael and I in your prayers. I've like, am fulfilling God's wishes. Like, God wanted me to do this. And it's like, bro, you blindsided your girlfriend, and whether that was the right choice or not, like the way you went about it wasn't, in my opinion, upholding of the golden rule, wasn't being kind, wasn't being thoughtful of another person's emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my point number one. I have a lot of issues with the way that post came out and the like the reflection on God.
And I think we probably have a little bit of different viewpoints on some of that too, in the sense like, but I think like what you said, if he's using it and to try to save his image and he's not practicing that on a daily basis, that's kind of hypocritical in my opinion.
Well, right. And I don't think you
like,
can say he is practicing on a daily basis if that's your action. Like, your action was to effectively belittle her, dim her light, put her down. And obviously I'm not in the relationship, but based on like the interview with Call Her Daddy and what she's put out there, right? Like, to minimize who she is. And that, in my opinion, is not Christian values or...
Right. I mean, if you really want to sit there and quote the Bible, you're supposed to treat the woman as you treat the church. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Not that we're going to sit here and be prophets by any means, but, you know, like that's the thing. And respect, you know, you're submissive or you put them on a pedestal and vice versa. But at the same time, I feel like that again, like what they say about some of men is like the most dangerous men are the most insecure men.
1000%.
And like, I personally have had a very bad relationship with a man that was very insecure. Not saying he might still be, but it really dims your light and it makes you less than who you are and it makes you walk on eggshells. And I think that is probably one of the loneliest and worst situations you could ever be in. I would choose being single
over that for sure,
over and over again than to ever be in a situation like that again.
I would think that like one of my biggest lessons circling back from my 20s is that you can be lonelier in a relationship than by yourself. If you're in the wrong relationship, you can be like, the loneliness I felt sharing an apartment with someone who I like hated and who belittled me and made me feel so small was because I didn't feel like I could talk about it to anybody, because you're in the relationship or like you're in a marriage or whatnot. So you feel like almost like gagged.
You do, or else you also like try to like respect your relationship, right? And you
rationalize things.
Want to talk about it because you don't want to like spill your dirty laundry on your friends and stuff. And I feel like therapy was like big, but therapy got big in like the last like 5 to 10 years for our generation, where it was like acceptable to like speak up. Like, yeah, I go to therapy and we're in therapy. It wasn't like a taboo.
Right.
And maybe that was also like a more Southern thing of where we were from. Like, we didn't really talk about going to therapy. Even like when you were younger, like little kids and stuff, it was kind of like, you don't tell anybody if like your family sent you to therapy or anything like that. So I do think that had like a big role to play in it into it, because you get nervous about speaking up, and maybe like she felt like that, or maybe she thought he was going to grow up and grow out of it, you know, like.
Well, and one of the things that I thought that was so interesting is, so she talks about how like the walking on eggshells piece, because I can remember distinct instances where I would be angry at my boyfriend or my, partner or whatnot. And somehow by the end of the argument, I was just trying not to make him mad. Like, it was like anything I brought up, like it got to a point where I just wouldn't bring things up.
Right.
You just shut down. Like, I just remember being shut down, and it was like in public settings, and I'm such an extroverted person, and so are you. And I was not that person.
Like,
no.
I remember like my best friends would, like, at the tail end of my marriage, I'm going to be completely honest, that was when I was married. And they would come to me and they'd be like, what happened to you? Like,
Right.
You used to be so outgoing. But it got to a point where, like, heaven forbid I was to upset him because I didn't want to deal with it.
No.
And so I just learned to kind of like be quiet, kind of like subdue myself and let him do his thing so that I didn't have to deal with the aftermath. And I wasn't in like an abusive relationship in that sense. It was more just very immature, and like we just weren't made for each other in the long run. I think my strong personality kind of clashed, but it was a lot, and it taught me a lot. Like it really like taught me so much. And has it maybe like even like hindered me dating a little bit again, even 5 years later? I would say sometimes, because you don't ever want to get in that situation again. And I think it kind of makes you a little more timid. But one of the things, and I hope that she can take it from this, is that you will be able to spot that so much
quickly.
Faster. And you're like, no, bye. I don't got time for you. Bye. Mm-hmm. And you're able to kind of move through. Not saying that's like the best way to be, but it saved me from ever repeating those mistakes again. So
yeah,
I'm thankful in that sense.
For sure. How long would you say it took you after that relationship to be like truly open and ready to date again?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like not dating, like, because obviously you were dating. Yeah, so was I. But like
really opened my heart back.
Right.
Probably in let's see, I got separated in 2019. I moved to LA in 2021. So I would say I started dating a lot then. I would say in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken me it took me a good 3 years.
I was literally thinking the same thing, because mine was 2018, and I would say probably in the past year and a half, like since I moved back from Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. Really like trust and be like ready, open to like letting somebody back in. I think, but I think that's also healthy, because I think if I was to dove out of a marriage that wasn't healthy and then got into another relationship, I would not have been the best partner. I needed to work on some things that I like figured out about myself.
I was self-sabotaging things all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like self-sabotaging was out in abundance.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite version of Eve.
Yes.
I was going to take a little side story. I met you 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago?
Yeah, 2021.
Was her witchcraft Eve.
Oh, God.
Witchcraft Eve was the best. And she would, like, somebody and I came over one time, and she had ordered all of these like powders and potions from Virginia. It was from like
Pennsylvania.
Salem.
I ordered $100 worth of witch juju herbs in bulk.
Like, what in the world is going on? You had these like candlesticks and stuff. I was like, well, teach me what you're doing. Like, what is this?
I don't know how to burn my apartment down, because I would get these 7-day candles that you had to make like a spell over, right? And you had to like a crisscross of crystals on it, and you had to put it under the moon or whatnot. I would leave the candle burning for 7 days. And I remember like distinctly, like I'd go out and that candle would just be like, and it wasn't in an encasement. Like Lord have mercy. Someone was looking over me during that time. And I had a bottle of whiskey. I never drank it. I wasn't a whiskey girl, but I poured all the potions in it, and I would, this is so bad shit. I would open my door in the morning and I would throw whiskey over my door and say my love potion.
Yeah.
Like on a work day, like Tuesday, 6 a.m. I'm throwing whiskey over the door. And I hired a witch from San Diego. Anyways, that was a deep dive.
That was a fun one.
Deep cuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move from this to your latest nano relationship, because you have a lot of thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Yeah, so it kind of ties into like Matt James's like good boy persona a little bit. If you kind of want to all like relate it together, is that I met this guy, and like he was not a lot younger, but a few years younger than me. And I was like, I'll give it a shot, because he was like, took initiative. He was like, had his shit together. He had ambition and drive. And I was impressed. I was like, wow, like you bring a lot to the table.
He presented a pretty package.
And he was a pretty package, I'll be honest. So, we went on a few dates, and on our third date, we got to chit-chatting, and he opens up that he was a virgin and he was saving himself for marriage. Now that's fantastic. Do what you want to do. No judgment. I am not a virgin. So, I was like, does that bother you? Or does it bother you that I'd been married? And he was like, no, because he was involved in the church and things like that. However, that young man did not give off virgin energy at all, if you know what I'm saying. So but I was very taken aback by it.
Yeah. But I also felt like he used it as a card.
I think so obviously this didn't end up working out or going anywhere. But after I kind of dissected it, he was very like alpha energy.
Right.
And I feel like he got off by like the control aspect.
The control aspect. Like, I'm not going to let us have sex.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to withhold that I'm in control. I get to decide.
Yeah. And that's what I realized, that I might have been dating a complete narcissist. But
yeah.
It was interesting because it also put things it made me ask myself a question. Am I okay? Say like this guy and me did work out.
Right. Would you be okay not having sex?
Would I be okay not having sex with him?
Well, and how would you feel if you got married and
it was awful?
Well, it was awful, but also like he was a virgin, but you weren't. Would you feel like he was going to resent you? Like, because if he holds it to such high esteem, then I just can't wrap my mind around him being cool marrying someone who wasn't.
Yeah.
Like that I would feel like I would constantly be struggling with that, and I would be insecure about that and be like, is he going to resent me for this? Is this going to come up later? Is he going to use this against me?
I mean, he could have fallen in love with me more because I could have showed him a few things.
Okay, wait, this brings me back to something. So I saw a TikTok by my friend Coleman today about the Matt James situation, and this is going to be a hot take, so don't jump on me when I say this. This is really stepping on a lot of toes here right now. I sometimes think that there's a correlation between narcissism and men who are gay. Because they have, or gay and not out, because they have such a strong desire or put men on such a high pedestal over women that it happens a lot in Hollywood, right? You talk about like men in power, they've experienced everything else. They want to dominate another man because the man's considered more powerful, right? It happens a lot in like athletic situations, but there's something about the combination of the God complex, the narcissism, and the I'm not sure if you're the one that gives me Colton Underwood vibes. And and Coleman's talking about this on TikTok, and I was like, wait, I resonate with this idea, because it's like, if you're bisexual and you're attracted to men, women, and it's about the person, I totally get that. Men who have never been attracted to a woman, is there any part, maybe it doesn't happen, maybe it's not across the board for all men who are gay, but is there a subset of gay men who aren't attracted to women because they think men are the superior sex?
That's a good question. I mean, that's something that maybe like our other community could like chime in on.
Yeah, like obviously I'm not a gay man.
Yeah, but, I have no idea.
But there's something about that makes sense in connection with narcissism. I'm not suggesting that all men who are gay, this is the thing.
Yeah.
But I could see
power trip.
I could see there being a subset, and I could also see there being a subset of the lesbian community who were so kind of disgusted by men that they would only sleep with women because of like a level of disgust.
Yeah.
Like I can see it going both ways. Anyways, I digress, but I saw this TikTok and I was basically just like, you know what? If he came out as gay, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also think because of his God complex, he never will.
The virgin?
No, not the virgin too.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking about Matt James.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like,
yeah.
Full circle.
And that's a shame, right? Like,
yeah.
You love who you want to love, right? And you can love Jesus and love a man and love a woman and whatever. But some people might not agree with that. But that's my personal.
No. These are all opinions. We're not stating these as facts.
Opinions, bad or good.
Not stating as facts.
But
it's just thoughts I've thought. Like,
interesting. That's really interesting. I don't know.
But also to the virgin's point is like there's something about it that's like the control power thing.
That's what I think is this.
Yeah, and you know what though?
He loved that like control thing, which I was like, ooh, an alpha male, like hey, masculinity. And then I was like, ooh, there's something a little off about that.
Well, it's like what we were talking about the other day with Aaron. We were talking about how like women in some regards want a guy who's a fuckboy and who's had sex with a million girls because he knows what he's doing and all this other stuff. But like, we don't actually want a fuckboy. We want something, right? So like
a nice man.
Yeah. So it's like this, we want them to have the experience, but not the mentality. And it's like, he almost had the flip of that. He had no experience, but had the mentality.
That is why I was so shocked to hear that.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very like backwards. Have you heard from him? Would you reach out ever?
No.
No. Okay, we're done.
No, I cut off.
We deaded him.
Don't waste my time, you know.
I mean, yeah, I think that's fair.
And like, he's younger than me. Like, we're probably not on the same page.
Fair enough.
But to answer your question earlier about would I be able to wait, we had a long talk about this.
Yeah.
Like when I was like, you know, I might would like give this guy a chance. And I think at this point in my life, I feel like whenever you date, you're dating a lot faster than when you date when you're younger. And I think, you know, if you can kind of test the areas that needed to be tested, I could wait. Especially if like we're probably going to move at a faster pace. And
sure. I would have no issue waiting for marriage to have sex. Like if it's the control thing that like, it was the use of it, the use of it. Right.
It was like a little manipulative almost.
Well, that was my point about the God stuff with Matt James is I felt like he was using it. It's
to like manipulate her. Or to make her feel bad. Or kind of like keep this little like entitlement.
Yes. That's the problem. Part. Right.
And that is insecure.
And that's also, I think, both the virgin thing, the waiting till marriage, the God thing, is all to me triggering because it reminds me so much of Southern culture in certain respects that it's just triggering because sex was seen as bad. Like my entire childhood, sex was bad. Women having pleasure, not talked about. And the reality is like, I made a TikTok about this today. I was like, I bet I put a lot of money that Rachael Kirkconnell, is that how you say her last name? That she has had 10 or less orgasms from Matt James because that man does not look like he has ever thought about a woman's pleasure.
He's probably just thinking about himself.
My first relationship, the guy I was engaged to, 4 orgasms over the course of 4 years. I can literally tell you all 4 of those places. Like,
and I think that also is a man who's not comfortable with themselves that can sit down and talk to a woman about what she needs because might feel like, oh, I'm not doing this automatically, and they get like more insecure and scared. And that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Sometimes you can't do it automatically. No. You have to communicate about
that. That also doesn't mean that the woman is bad in bed. That doesn't mean that the woman is hard. No.
None of that. Yes, that's so true. Because I don't know if whenever you were younger and had like experiences, like you know, sometimes people might sit there and say that it isn't taking a while and then it gets in your head and it might take longer and like that's going to build up insecurity, you know what I mean? And then you get nervous and you're like that leads into the next partner and you have to like talk about it.
And the older we get, we've talked about this in your 30s, suddenly men can't always get it up. And like that doesn't mean that they're not attracted to you. That doesn't mean they're bad in bed. That doesn't mean like there's so many layers to intimacy that I think, especially in the South, because we just don't talk about it. It was like this taboo topic. And the reality is, I hope that the guy I marry, I'm able to talk about it with, and we're able to, both of us, figure out what works.
But that right there is, again, I think comes with age. It comes with maturity. It comes with security. And of course, if you're getting married to this person, whoever you marry, you have to have the communication of being able to talk about any and everything. And that's my biggest takeaway from my experiences of being married and my taking into my next relationships. I want to be so comfortable with you that we can literally talk about anything.
Right.
And it's also no judgment, you know?
And it doesn't mean that you don't have to broach every topic. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can still keep some topics where you're like, this is, I talk with my girl. Or whatever. But I still want to know that at the root of it, I would be comfortable if I needed to. That like, that I'm not afraid. Because that, like, back to the Rachael and Matt thing, I feel like she was afraid to talk about certain things.
Or she was afraid of making him upset. And, like, then that's where the eggshells comes on. And you don't realize how little things, like, that can be so stupid, how much they can multiply over time. And then that'll lead to something else you're not wanting to say. Like, it's just wild. And it's a repeating cycle that is so hard to break
get out of.
Unless both people actually want to fix it.
Well, yeah. And when she was saying like, he was saying she was too emotional, I heard that repeatedly in my last relationship. And I'm like, yeah, you yelling at me is going to make me emotional. You degrading me is going to make me emotional. Like, my emotion is a response to this and a signal that I care, right? Like,
I want to fix this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, when I stopped reacting was when I knew I was done.
Yes.
When I started just being like, whatever, he's yelling again. Like, that's
or
when
like,
I
kind of like laughing. I
Right.
to a point where I was like,
okay,
are you finished?
Exactly.
Like, and then that's demasculating. And then
that's when you know it's done.
Cycle, you know, like
it's game over.
Yeah, like when it just becomes like when there's no respect, I think is when like women check out.
Yeah.
And it takes women a lot longer to do that,
Yep.
I feel like.
They often say that women break up with the guy in the relationship. So oftentimes when the relationship's over, the woman will be upset for a couple months immediately after, but then she's good.
Yeah.
Because she grieved it during the relationship, because they'll hold on for so much longer. And a guy won't, and he'll break up and be like, oh, I'm free again. And then 6 months later, it'll hit him what he lost.
Yeah.
But he never actually grieved, and now he's got to grieve it. And it's, I mean.
So after your bad relationship, did your ex try to come back for you?
I blocked him on everything. I blocked him on everything for 2 years. I have no idea.
But your first one did.
Oh, my first one did. Yeah, my ex-fiance, he consistently pops back in. Well, now he doesn't. He's blocked now. But for a long time, he would consistently pop back in. And we talked about this because it was almost like it was a convenience thing. It was a validation thing. It was a, let me just see if she'll answer. Let me just see if I can get validation from her about the feelings we used to have. And at a certain point, it's like, this isn't a friendship. This isn't meaningful. Like, I'm literally just like the emergency button when you don't have anyone in your life that's giving you attention. It's like, well, she'll pick up. And when I realized that that's what was happening, it was like, this isn't a place I want to continue. This isn't healthy.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'm done. Thank you. No hard feelings.
Right.
Bye.
But like, this is done now.
This is done.
Right. And it took a long time. That took a long time for me because he wasn't a bad person. And when they're not a bad person,
that's always hard.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay. Spiraling. Bonnie Blue. So
I have a lot of thoughts on Bonnie
give
Blue.
like a 1 minute like synopsis of the Bonnie Blue sitch.
So it's a little bit somewhat old news, but it's still very much all over the internet. This woman has been wanting to beat world records by having intercourse with over 1,000 men.
Right.
She's been
in 24 hours.
In 24 hours. So like you have to sign consents, waivers, provide.
Which for the record is 1 minute and 40 seconds a person.
Yes.
And that's not including like changing the condom. That's like
in and out.
That's like bum.
Like nonstop. And she got a little bit in trouble.
When does she eat?
Maybe she eats during.
It's like eating a hot dog.
Maybe that's like one person's thing. Like, eat her while you're doing it. You know?
When does she pee?
That's a great question. I mean,
the UTI she must have.
I was about to say. Like, my gosh, like if you look up some of her stuff, the poor girl's interview, her eyes were bloodshot. I think she had stuff on her face. Like, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think my biggest, do what you want to do. One, what does her poor father think? That's my first question.
Well, her mom was did you see the stuff about her mom?
Yes, she was like okay with it.
Her mom was like holding the sign. Oh, she's beautiful.
Like, and if you see her dressed in her little conservative outfits, you would never assume that she was getting railed by 1,000 men. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on it in the sense of like that it's on the internet. It's like, if you want to do that and go be a porn star and go do your thing, you go do it, girlfriend. There are age limits there. But the fact that it's on TikTok and these young girls can see it, that's what bothers me.
That's what bothers you. Okay.
That's what bothers me. It's just like, this is what we've come to as women. Like, I saw her on a podcast and a man was talking to her and he was like, do you not like respect yourself? Like, your body's not like your temple. Like, and she's like, I don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Devil's advocate. I don't like correlating sex with respect because I think that you can have as much or as little sex as you want and still respect or not respect yourself. There are plenty of people who have no respect for themselves and also are not having sex with anybody. Like, right. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's a slippery slope.
Like the 24-hour span of 1,000 instances. But
well, I think of it more from I think of it two ways. I have two issues. One, I have an issue with the fact that we're not talking about the men that are agreeing to this, like,
a lot of them are like, she was saying, are father, husbands, like,
yeah,
like all that. They're wearing bags over their heads. They
like,
can't be seen.
I have a lot of issues with the men because for me, that says a lot more about society that she could find 1,000 men that would line up and do that. And I have a lot of thoughts about that. And I also think, like,
she did say, like, so she got a little bit into trouble because I guess she was teetering on the line of like 17-year-olds.
right.
And they were like, oh, you know, that's a little bit, that's underage, like,
Right.
and all this stuff. But then she came out and she made a point and she was saying, if I can, these young guys, whether they're 18 or whatever, if I can be their first experience and maybe show
It's
them
safe,
or teach them something.
There's bodyguards,
she was
all
like
of that.
saying that.
Yeah.
She was like, it's safe. They are, wear condoms, like all
Right.
that. So she was like making valid
Points.
points, I
Yeah.
guess, for that. But I guess it's more just, to me, and this is my opinion, it's just disappointing. It's disappointing that this is what women have come to in our society.
Well, and I think about it in the reverse.
And men, I guess, in that sense, that they're going to line up and be able to one out the other like a train. Go do that.
But I think about it in the reverse. Imagine if a guy said, I want to sleep with 1,000 women. I don't think he could get 1,000 people to line up.
I don't think yeah, you're probably right, actually.
I don't think he could. And I think
that's actually a really great point. I didn't even think about it like that.
And what does that mean? Because does that mean, I think it means a couple things in my opinion. A, it's because obviously no woman is getting off in under a minute and 40 seconds with a guy they've never met. Like, that's just not a thing, right? Like, if you are, you're some magical creature of the universe. Yeah, that's not a thing. So like, what pleasure would a woman get out of that? B, I think women have more respect for themselves than to want to be in a gangbang situation where they're sharing the same guy, which is also why I think the men in line, as much as she might not have respect for herself or whatnot, like the men, like, like I just,
like,
it's because it's like, are you doing this as a conquest thing? No, because there's 1,000 of you. Are you doing this as a like
to say that you can check it off the box?
Right?
Like,
I don't understand why the men are doing it. I really truly don't get it.
If someone like watching this or hearing this, like, would
give the men's perspective.
Yeah, because like, I would love to hear like what that is. Like, what is like a man sees this an ad and he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to sign up for that.
Right.
Today. Go get in line.
Wait, so, okay. So I told you about the massage I'm supposed to go to tomorrow.
Yeah, what in the world is RubMaps? I've never heard of RubMaps.
I learned about RubMaps yesterday.
You must live under a rock.
Same. I'd never heard about RubMaps either. So
also, did your father buy this?
Yes.
Is he on RubMaps?
No. Okay, so this is what we've discovered. So my dad buys me this $200 gift card to this Buddha Thai massage place. Now, my dad is, for lack of a better word, cheap. Like, my dad is not buying me a massage gift certificate to a nice massage parlor. In his mind, he was probably like, 3 massages, $200. That's a deal. Well, yeah, it is a deal. I don't know if I want to go. So he kept on asking me if I'd gotten my massages yet. He's been asking me for 6 months. So I kept on trying to call the place. If you go on Google, you see the place. There's a huge phone number under the sign. Called that phone number. I've called it probably 30 times. Every time I call it, it literally says, the number's like a 310 number. Immediately, it doesn't ring. It goes, 818-7 whatever, the number is not available. Well, first of all, that's not the number I called. I called a 310 number. So I don't know if it was like a Google number or it's connected. Yeah, it doesn't, it says, it immediately doesn't ring and it goes 818 blah, blah, blah is not available. Not the number I called, and I don't know what number this is. I've even called the 818 number, doesn't go through. So told my dad this, and my dad's like, that's weird. I can call and get them. And I'm like, okay. So whatever, Dad. My dad calls them. My dad's like, when do you want an appointment? And I'm like, I want an appointment Friday at 1. He calls. He's like, cool, got you an appointment. I'm like,
are you going to go?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So at this point, all I know is that I cannot call this place. My phone will not call them. My dad's phone will. Makes no sense. I have no idea why. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, am I calling the wrong number? Am I making some stupid mistake? So I call my boyfriend and I'm like, hey, my dad says I have this appointment at 1:00 on Friday. Will you call them and confirm I have this appointment? My dad's 77. He's British. Like, maybe he accidentally bought me a gift card for somewhere in like England. I don't know. So my boyfriend calls and he's like, oh yeah, it rings. I talked to someone. You don't have an appointment. So I'm like, how the fuck are you getting it to ring? I literally then call the place, three-way in my dad, and it goes to the 818 is not available. And my dad's like, that's weird. I can call him.
Do you think it's only there's not a way to figure out like gender?
Right, exactly. Like, how is it that I can't call them? The weirdest thing, we're going to try from your phone.
Okay.
Wait, can we try from your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get my phone in a moment once I finish the story, because we're going to try, because I'm baffled. So my dad calls back, and he's like, no, you have an appointment. So then my dad's like, okay, you can text this number. He gives me a number to text. He's like, that's how I got the gift card. I texted this number. So I text the number, and I'm like, hey, can you please confirm and have an appointment at 1 on Friday? No response. Tell my dad this. My dad's like, okay, you have an appointment. So I call my boyfriend back, and I'm like, am I crazy? This feels weird. My boyfriend Googles the establishment, and he's like, well, the first thing that shows up is RubMaps.
Who's Googling it?
My boyfriend.
Her
boyfriend Googles it. And I subsequently found out that you have to have a membership to RubMaps. He does not have a membership to RubMaps. You have to pay. I didn't know what RubMaps was. RubMaps is where you find out if it has the membership. Is where you find out if the massage parlor gives happy endings. So anyways, you can see all the places on RubMaps, but you can't read the reviews without paying. It's like $24.99. So my boy, yeah. So, don't worry, I've done it a deep dive. Yes. So my boyfriend's like, I didn't read the reviews, but I can see that there are a lot of them, and it's on RubMaps. And he was like, but there are also a lot of reviews on Yelp, and they're really good. And I'm like, well, do we think there are people who got happy endings? And he's like, I don't know. Could be a sex trafficking place. Unclear. So anyways, I call my dad back, and my dad's like, no, it's fine. He was like, I'll text him and confirm your appointment. My dad texts the same number I texted. They respond to him.
Maybe like names are popping up, and since yours is Eve, they're like, that's a woman, I'm not going to respond.
So they respond to my dad, and they're like, no, but they respond and say, yes, Eve has a confirmed appointment on Friday. Still haven't responded to my text. Anyways, the appointment's tomorrow at 1. I have a lot of questions. The first being, how did my dad find this place? They don't have a website. Their phone number does not work. There are like hundreds of massage places in LA. What did he Google to come across this place?
Now we know what your dad's kink is.
2, like, why are they on RubMaps? 3, why does my boyfriend know about RubMaps? Which we found the answer. Apparently, this is fascinating. His law school roommate was on RubMaps and would only go to massage parlors on RubMaps when he would get stressed. And I was like, well, how does it work? And he goes, well, he'd walk into the massage parlor, they'd do his back, they'd flip him over, and the woman would look at him and go, me touch there, and like, or say like, I touch there, and like point at his dick. And he would say yes. And then the woman would be like, you're not police? And then he would say no. And then they'd jerk him off. And it was like a $50 tip for it. Anyways, I digress. That is how my boyfriend learned about RubMaps.
I'm not meant to be a man.
But I'm going tomorrow at 1.
You're gonna go?
Yes! I have $200 gift certificate. I can't just like not use
What
it.
if they try to rub one out on you?
I got fighting fists.
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna go.
I can't wait to hear this story.
So,
maybe you should take Glenn with you.
I'm a little nervous about.
I'm nervous.
I have a lot of questions. Okay, wait. We're gonna call this place.
I need for you.
I want you to see what it does when I call them.
I think that I think you might just need to wash the $200, to be honest.
Well, watch. We're going to call them massage place. Called them today. Don't worry.
Eight 1 8 7 4 4 4 5 2 0 is not available.
That's not the number, by the way.
What's the number?
Okay, so the number
We're going
is
to try one more time.
310-207-0802. Put it on speaker. Put it up here.
They blocked her. She's called so many times they blocked her.
Like, what the fuck?
So at least we're getting a ringtone.
Like,
oh, that's weird. Maybe you did say you've been calling them for like 6 months.
All you trying to
like, this crazy person's dying to get in here. She can't handle not getting RubMaps.com.
But do you see what I'm talking about? That's what I get, and that's what Glenn and my dad get.
Oh, interesting.
And Glenn and my dad keep both being like, what do you mean you can't call them? And I'm like, I can't call them.
That's weird.
Right?
You've been blocked.
I've been blocked by the RubMaps place.
blocked by RubMaps.com. Wow. Well,
yeah.
hey, you got to give a review and let us know how it goes.
Can't wait. Wonder if you can give reviews for free on RubMaps.
I would not be able to relax. I'd be there to think, oh my God, they're going to
terrified.
They're going to come get me.
I'm terrified, but like, you know me, I got to do it. Like,
I know. You're there for the plot.
I'm there for the plot.
I think
like
everyone's trying to kidnap me.
Well, they might be. I'm feisty. Like,
I mean, I'm feisty, but
I just, I'm going at 1 p.m. too. I'm not going at like 8 p.m.
Do they have that?
Yeah, they have. Yes. I'm not going then. I'm going at 1 p.m. It's going to be bright and daylight.
Where sometimes I forget that I live in like such a big city. I'm like, stick to the little west side bubble.
I'll let you know how Buddha Thai massage is. Buddha. Like, how did you find this place, Dad? Anyways, okay.
It's really funny.
So, closing out, things that you wish you'd known in your 20s, besides relationship stuff, just like other shit, because I've got a couple on the top of my tongue.
Oh, wear sunscreen.
That was going to be my first one.
Sorry, religiously. Wear
Mineral-based
sunscreen.
sunscreen.
On your face and on your chest.
Yeah, and your hands.
And wash your face every night because one, you're going to sleep better and it's going to help your skin quality.
I should do that more.
Yeah.
Wear your sunscreen. Get dentist cleanings twice a year.
Oh, that one is good.
Yeah, because it doesn't come to eat you in your 20s, but when you're 30, you're like, oh, that cavity really sucks. That bites ass. Yeah. Okay, let's continue on. The sunscreen one's big, and no one told me that. Literally, no one told me that. I
think like whenever, like your friends or relationships or anything, if people just kind of like exit your life, like
let them.
I'm like a big fan of Mel Robbins right now, and her like let them theory, and I feel like I've been really trying to do that. Like let them.
Yeah.
You're gonna meet more people. You're gonna meet new people, and
don't force things in your life. Don't force partners. Don't force relationships. Don't force friendships. Don't force jobs. If you're going to a workout every day and you hate it, stop going. Find a different workout. Like I think the older you get, the more, and I don't mean this in a like future tripping stressed way, but the more time becomes your most valuable resource, and you realize you don't want to spend time with people doing things in places that you don't want to be. Yeah.
And I think also like stop worrying about like the societal standards. And I am speaking from someone who's
from experience
about societal standards. Like stop. Like, be who you are. Do what the hell you want to do because you're going to be your best self like that. You're going to be your happiest like that. And then you're going to attract what's best for you.
That's what's best for you. Right. Because when I think about this, I think about like I could put on a facade and I could be this like preppy whatever girl, right? And I would attract a certain type of man who liked that. And when the facade went down, or when I was my authentic self, or in 2 years when I came into my own or whatnot, either he wouldn't be attracted to me anymore, or I would be having to continue to like put on this show, which is exhausting. I would add to that, fully circling back on the skinny jeans thing. When skinny jeans first came out, so I also realized this today.
I'm kind of excited that skinny jeans are back because I like to wear my boots over
my jeans. Agreed on that account. And also because I'm tall, I like to wear boots over jeans because if they're too short, it's not as awkward for me. Skinny jeans, it looks less awkward when they're short.
I knew I held on to those.
I held on to all of them. Yeah. So I remember specifically when they first became fashionable because it was when I was a sophomore in college. It was 2007, 2008. And my roommate started wearing them and she had bigger hips.
Yeah.
And they didn't look good on.
Look as good on girls with bigger hips.
Yeah. And I remember thinking that they didn't look that good on her. And I was used to wearing like bell bottoms or flares mostly, or boot cut. And I remember thinking they didn't look that good on her. So I didn't want to wear them. But like,
on you,
they looked good. Yeah.
Long legs.
Right. It was different. But I remember distinctly when this happened. And I guess the full circle that I'm thinking about that is that you should always, the older I get, the more I realize you should always wear what looks best on your body, what colors look best on your body, what styles look best on your body. Because if skinny jeans look bad on you, it doesn't matter how in fashion they are, you're going to feel your most confident when you feel you look the best.
Yeah.
Like when I put on Gen Z, like baggy cargo pants and they're like high waters on me, I feel so frumpy that even if they're in fashion, my confidence is like on the ground.
Oh, yeah. A bad outfit, well, that's a bad thing out with me.
And it doesn't matter if it's in fashion if I don't feel confident in it.
That's a very, very.
And I feel like
wear what fits you. You know what I mean? Like, don't always try to be on trend because you're.
But the same with hair and makeup.
Yeah.
Like, okay, side parts are in, side parts are out. Like, some people look better with a side part. Some people look better with a middle part.
Yeah.
I personally struggle with the middle part because I have a cowlick. So like I'll move it more to the middle so we're not like doing the full side bang. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to have a perfect middle part because of that. And I could fight it, but I'd literally be like,
Yeah.
Sound effects necessary.
Yeah, I think that was good. Great sound effects.
Anything else?
I mean, I could sit here all day and tell you like different things that you've learned. But I also feel like, I think it's just more about just like really figuring out who you are, what you want out of life, and going with that. You know what I mean?
Invest in your retirement plan early.
Oh shit, yeah.
I think like even if it's $100, $50 a month, it
That's
doesn't
so
matter.
true.
Start your first job. I think that's a big one. If you want kids, freeze your eggs. If you know with certainty you want kids, look into freezing your eggs.
How would you tell people to freeze their eggs? The younger, the better.
Just under 35.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you are like, if you're one of those people, I was, that at 27, without a shadow of a doubt, it doesn't matter if you have a partner or not, you want kids, then make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you can't have them. Make sure that you think about rationally when you're 25, 26, what are the things that no matter what I want, right? And they could be, no matter what, I want to have a master's degree, no matter what, I want kids, no matter what, I want to travel by myself for 5 years, whatever those things are, figure out how to do them. Don't let life or circumstances get in the way, because at the end of the day, money's replaceable.
That's
like,
fine. I think like travel, like speaking of like the traveling, is like travel. If you couldn't go and afford it, travel.
Yeah.
Go. That job can wait. If they fire you, get another one.
You'll get another one. Yeah.
Go travel, see the world. You can still be successful and still like live life.
Especially in today's age when so many jobs are at least partially remote.
Oh my God, go live in a foreign country.
Take advantage. Take advantage of that.
Take advantage of it.
Because it's not necessarily always going to be this way.
No.
We don't know how much longer it's going to be this way. And yeah, it's invest in your education, I would say. Whatever you want to do, invest in educating yourself in that field, whether it be through apprenticeships, whether it be through more trainings, whether it be through more formal education, whether it be through having a side hustle in the area. Invest in your education, because that won't go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's something that you can always like fall back on for men and women. You want to be a stay-at-home mom, great, but make sure you can fall back on like your career if you want to.
Yeah.
I think that's one of like things that I would put out there for the most part.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Might have a lot more.
Happy birthday to Brittany.
Yeah. Another year.